All right, let's go through our visual text answers. Okay, you know that visual text is over here, right? So we have this poster over here. Okay, it's about luxury. All right, okay, and it says start your very own custom, right? Dream timepiece. You never actually possess the watch. You just keep it for generations to come. Okay, now over here it says you never actually possess the watch, you just keep it for the generations to come. So what does this actually imply? Okay, what's the meaning of imply? What does this mean? Right? So anybody wants to offer an answer? Yes, Vashni. Wait, 1 second. Let me just unmute you. Okay, can share your thoughts?
It says like you only don't actually keep the watch, you pass it to your generations as well because it's keepable or something.
Yeah, you just keep it for a while, right? Okay, so you just merely keep it for the future generation. So merely safeguard it, right? For future generation. Okay, and you don't actually, do you own the product? You do not actually own the product. Okay, the full sentences will be later on in the answer key later. All right, now how does the poster convey the message in question 1? Okay, so how does it show, right, that the message is being presented in such a manner? Basically, you see a man walking with 2 children, right? So it shows that, you know, there is some sort of taking care of, right? The close relationship between the father and the children, right? Okay, so you are protecting the next generation, right? In this case, you're taking care of the next generation, just like how you're also taking care of the timepiece. Okay, so we have close, I'll just put close relationship between father and children, right? Okay, so it helps to emphasize that protecting the next generation. Okay, now what does the message tell you about the product? Okay, so anybody wants to offer an answer? What does the message tell you about the product? Basically, because it's a timepiece, and timepieces are usually expensive, and if they're expensive, obviously they're very precious, right? So they're precious, and it's a timepiece, it has to be reliable, right? Because you obviously rely on it to tell the time, right? I mean, logically speaking, right? And what does start your very own custom actually mean? What does start your very own custom mean? Okay, start means to own something, own product. And of course, you start the tradition of passing it down to other generations, right? Passing it down to future generations. Take note of that. Okay, I know visual text can be quite challenging for many of you, okay, especially when it comes to looking and trying to decipher what the picture is telling you about. Okay, so what can you say about the value of the watch? Most likely is to be very expensive. Okay, now, next one. Okay, so leather, what does this actually tell you? Now, let's move on to the next visual text. Okay, if you've got any questions, you can just type in your questions. Okay, yes, I know, I like my ink pen too. It looks like galaxy, right? It's like turquoise and black, so pretty. Okay, now, what does this actually tell you about the leather question? Look at it, right? Okay, so leather, pure gold that gives versatility, right? Okay, let me erase it, not spoil the image. Okay, trust is precious, and then you have some jewelry brand, right? Okay, so yes, okay, it is expensive, very good. So it actually, what does this tell you? Okay, it actually shows us basically, right, the contrast in leather is very durable, right? Durability and class. So actually, it's a very sort of expensive piece. You're right to say that. Very good. Okay, Azhar, Vashini, good job. Okay, so what evidence is there to support your answer? Basically, what you have a leather piece plus some gold trendy designs, right? So you look at the sort of design of the watch itself. Okay, students, so what target audience will this actually appeal to? Who wears leather nowadays? I mean, if you are older, you want to wear like gold, you know, stainless steel, those metal Rolex watches, right? Obviously, it's the younger crowd, the younger generation. Okay, and how do you think this product is versatile, right? Okay, you can actually change the, basically you can use it for different activities. Okay, you can be using it for something that is very casual because it's leather, but there's also bits of gold there, which means that it can be used for some sort of function, etc. Right? Okay, and why do you think the word precious is appropriate? Because gold is a precious metal. So it means that the timepiece is actually very precious, something like that. Okay, students, good job. All right, now these are the answers. Okay, we will upload it later. Okay, now we'll just quickly go through the oral practice. Okay, anybody wants to read from me? 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 paragraphs, so we can have 4 students reading for me. Anybody wants to volunteer to read? I really don't need to read this. Okay, so we will get Varshini. We will get Doreen. Okay, even though it looks like Dorino. I'm sorry, sweetheart. Okay, Doreen. Okay, we will get Azza. And we will get, how about Shamin? All right, now, are we ready? Can we just start with our fellow readers, please? Varshini, are you ready?
I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a desert state sputtering with the heat of injustice and oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice.
Thank you, sweetie. I know you really tried to sort of like put yourself in this position, right? Because remember, at the end of the day, this is a speech that you are supposed to give to your teacher regarding Speak Good English. Okay, that being said, a couple of pointers, right? Because it is a speech, you need to sort of emphasize on whatever you're saying. So the words that you are pronouncing, you need to you need to enunciate on them, you need to emphasize on them. So for example, I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a desert state, sweltering with the heat of injustice and oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. So each word has to be very purposefully said, right? We try not to sort of pull back very quickly because then the weight of our words, basically, we can't feel it. Right, so we need to feel the weight of the word. So that's why we sort of emphasize. You realize that I keep pronouncing each not character or word, but each word very very heavily, so to speak. You can actually feel the weight of what I'm reading. All right, thank you, sweetie. Okay, now Doreen, let's go.
Distinguished judges, ladies and gentlemen, what you have heard is a quote by the late Martin Luther King Jr. He was an American clergyman, activist, and prominent leader of the African American civil rights movement. However, my speech today is not about his achievements, but instead about the power of the English language to influence, persuade, and motivate. In history, great writers such as William Shakespeare and Charles Dickens have written their works in English.
Thank you, sweetie. That was good. Okay, I noticed that you really tried to sort of demonstrate that it's a speech and obviously a very heavy-weighted one. Okay, good job. Keep it up. Okay, thank you, Azza.
English today is a global language used by billions around the world. Our language is always reminding us to speak standard English. Some Singaporeans argue that it is acceptable to use in Singlish, a variety of English containing elements of local languages such as Hokkien and Malay. As long as we are understood, as everyone understands us.
Okay, thank you, sweetie. So I think for this one, possibly you read some words that you're not familiar with, which is understandable. That's why there's quite a bit of hesitation. But don't worry, okay? That being said, what I'd like you to do is in future when you get some text like this, right, just keep practicing the difficult parts or the challenging parts so that it becomes a lot smoother. So the reading becomes very round, right? For example, some Singaporeans argue that it is acceptable to use Singlish. Hang on, okay, so some Singaporeans argue that it is acceptable to use Singlish, a variety of English containing elements of local languages such as Hokkien and Malay, as long as we are understood. So it's like you have to break at the appropriate juncture so that the different parts of the sentence is actually being shown, are being demonstrated across. Okay, because this one is like an explanation piece sort of, right? So that's why we have to pause at the relevant places. Okay, now Charmaine, sweetie, are you ready? Where are you? Okay, let's go, sweetheart.
Singaporeans travel widely nowadays. Can we be understood by foreigners if we only speak Singlish? I do not deny that there is a time and place to speak Singlish, but I would strongly recommend that students master standard English and as it is acceptable by international users of the language. The key is to being the key to being understood is the ability to use the right type of English with different groups of people.
Thank you. That was very clear, very clearly articulated, very nicely paced. Okay, Charmaine, keep it up. Just be careful because this one is a speech, right? So sometimes, because you're reading very accurately in that way, so try to put a little bit more emotion. Now it sounds like you have emotion, but it's a very flat emotion. So what I'd like you to do is be a bit more passionate about it. But other than that, I think it's perfect. Your reading, your pronunciation, your pace was very good. Okay, keep it up. All right, now thank you. Okay, a couple of things to take note of when we're practicing the oral practice, right? Okay, obviously things to help us expand, right? Besides the PU format will be our 5Ws 1H. Okay, what we like or what we dislike about the particular topic or issue at hand. Okay, past, present, and future, comparing between different time zones. Of course, we do a compare contrast as well if that's possible. Okay, explore alternative viewpoints if you can, right? Support with evidence and of course be honest in your responses. Okay, so we have this picture over here, right? These two students over here. Okay, so what do you think are the thoughts of the girls in the pictures? Okay, I don't think I'll be getting responses, so I'll just go ahead and give you my answer. Okay, hang on, let me just zoom in a little bit. Okay, so they look like, right, based on what they are actually doing. Let me show you the picture again. These two, right? Obviously they look like they're studying for something, right? Okay, so in this case, I think the girls are discussing some last-minute revision tips, perhaps for their upcoming examinations. They seem to be referring to the textbook, of course, to give the evidence, right? Again, pointing out a humorous fact, that's why they're both laughing or smiling, right? I feel heartened to know that despite a serious subject of study, which is true in every serious bout of um, um, issue going on, right? They're able to find light in books and laugh about things, which is very important, right? In our world, nowadays, especially at present moment, COVID situation, everyone is so stressed because they're unable to cope with the stressful school load that they have. Not only school, your parents are stressed about work, right? Finances, etc., right? Hence, there have been many cases of students who are depressed due to them underperforming at school. So students, actually, when I was teaching, back in schools, right, we have had many attempts of students, cutting themselves, threatening to commit suicide simply because they are just so stressed out. And they think that their parents value their good results over anything else, but that's not true because at the end of the day, it's no point you getting good results if your parents don't have you, right? Okay, so therefore, I feel very happy when I see two girls laughing over something in the books, as that is what I try to do with my friends as well. Find the lighter moments and laugh about them. I hope to remain like those girls even as I grow older and handle more stressful moments, as this is what keeps us going, right? So basically, you can express hope for the future or hope for something to be positive. Okay, now second question. Some people feel that it is hard to master the English language. What do you think are reasons for that? Okay, so firstly, right, several reasons why teenagers find it difficult to master English language. Point that you are making. Okay, it is because they don't read much, which is true, right? Students, how many of you actually have the time to read either a storybook or the newspapers, all you probably read? And I admit I'm also guilty of doing these sort of activities like Instagramming, right? I mean, I don't Instagram, but you read the captions, and there's a lot of hashtags, and that's not proper English, right? So that's why I try to make it a point to read. I definitely have to read the newspapers every day because that's the nature of my job, right? And also I read like Economist, Newsweek, Times, right? So all these are very important things to keep you in the know about the world, because if I don't know about these things, I can't tell my students as in stories, and that's how they get their information, right? Okay, so with all that is happening in school and the increasing usage of modern technology such as social applications like Instagram and Snapchat, reading is the last thing on the minds of these youth, hence because of the lack of exposure of good language, right? Okay, youth remain unclear about what good language is. In fact, many of you, okay, I'm not saying you guys in particular, but many of you in general, right, are not sure proper usage of language, as in grammar and all that, if you're not being trained in school properly. And even now in secondary school, you realize you don't really do much grammar except for editing, right? Okay, so in the end, what happens is a cycle of events: speak broken English, write broken English, and the grammar is so weak that foreigners tend to misunderstand them. So it was quite funny, right? So I was going out with a couple of friends, and we've got some whites in between us and some British people, right? So whenever we speak the Singlish way, right, it's clear that the grammar is so mixed up that even people who are really good at English and able to pick out roughly what we're supposed to be saying, right? They just don't get us completely because the grammar is so mixed up. You know, the subject verb agreement, the tenses, you know, are all wrong. So it makes it very difficult for them to actually understand us. Okay, so now we explain a little bit more, right? We elaborate. Not only are youth not exposed to good language, they also tend to speak in Singlish, which is the Singaporean version of English, throwing in and consonants such as la or ah, right? Basically, you end every sentence with a la, right? Okay. This and inaccurate usage of English also hampers the ability to master the language since the youth are often in contact with poor English. Unable to differentiate what is accurate language, youth therefore struggle to maintain good English standards, let alone master the language, to be honest. Okay, and of course we link back to the question. So I believe that the problem of having weak language stems from the lack of accurate encounters with the language. So basically your lack of exposure, your lack of brushing with the language, right, leads you to have poor English if you are not exposed to good English, right? This makes it difficult for you to appreciate the language, let alone speak and write in good English. Okay, students, and what do you think is a good way to learn the language, right? Okay, now just some thoughts on my, you know, from coming from a language teacher. I think first and foremost, schools need to educate you, need to tell you on how important it is to read, right? Okay, regardless of whether it's reading newspapers, short articles, short stories, novels, the need for reading is very important to ensure that you're very clear on your basic foundation of the language. Okay, following reading, right, students need to also learn to how words are being pronounced, right? Not just read, you need to comprehend, but you need to be able to speak and communicate as well, right? So that being said, this comes from listening to good programs such as the Daily News and foreign British shows such as Minor Language. Go and Google it, students, because it's actually really very funny, right? Okay, that demonstrates good pronunciation. This is to ensure that students are able to enunciate and articulate their words well. Besides reading and listening, students should also practice their written language. It seems that across the board, students lack writing practice simply because there isn't any time. You have to admit, right, students, how many of you actually write many conversations in class? You probably write 2 a term, right? Or maybe slightly more if you're in a graduating cohort. But other than that, it's really very hard for teachers to find time to give you the piece. You do already, it's okay, you know, they can take, right? And then what? They take like months to mark. And sometimes you don't even get it back, right? So that is actually a challenge because you don't have the time, right? So hence the standard of basic grammar is weakened, which makes it hard for students to learn a language well. Not only that, students also have to converse in accurate language with each other. Right, nowadays with the use of Singlish, students tend to confuse inaccurate language with accurate language, which leads to a huge misconception about how words are used and expressed. Okay, so there are many good and effective ways to learn a language, in my opinion. However, what matters is that we make the conscientious effort to learn the language well without indulging in badly written or spoken Singlish, right? This is to minimize any attempt at thwarting, right? Okay, at affecting your efforts to master and learn the English language well. Okay, so just some pointers for you to take note of, students. You're not just reading, okay, you must listen as well. All right, now, remember once again, we have the PU format, right? Okay, point, explain, elaborate, and link to question. Okay, and with this particular quote is with regard to the watch, the luxury piece, right? Lifestyle is actually not an amount. You don't quantify how much of money is a lifestyle, right? It's a practice. So if you need a lifestyle that is very, okay, I wouldn't say righteous, but you're a very happy person, right? And you're comfortable with what the things that you're doing, right? Then I think it will become at some point a practice for you, right? And you'll be able to, just like English, right? If you speak good English, it will come naturally to you. You don't have to really spend too much effort in making sure that whatever you're saying, I mean, makes sense, and not only that, it's grammatically correct, and I mean the words that you use, you know, you're very articulate in demonstrating or expressing yourselves. Okay, that's why I always tell my students, you know, as much as possible, try to speak, you know, allocate certain times. Of course, when you're having fun, fine, you know, speak all the English you want. But in English lesson, or, you know, when you're having stipulated discussions, make sure you really speak proper English so that, you know, when you are able to turn on that cap for your oral exams, it comes easily and more naturally, right? You don't just force your way through and, oh my God, start panicking, right? Okay, so the ability to differentiate the different spheres is very important. Okay, that being said, students, I'm actually done with my lesson. Thank you very much for attending today. I hope that this has been very helpful for you. I'll be uploading the answers later on. Okay, so just check back tomorrow or the day after for the uploaded answers. Okay, that being said, okay, take care of yourselves. Have a good week ahead. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time around. Okay? Mwah. Love you all. Bye.